Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and welcome back to the channel. I've been seeing a lot of clips of Myron from Fresh and Fit speaking about Islam and the fact that he is a Muslim, but he believes it's okay for people to criticize Islam and the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. I wanted to go through some of the points that he made and debunk them and clarify the Islamic position on this for two main reasons. One, the Muslim public should just know about this and know the truth when it comes to Islam and whether we're allowed to criticize it or not. And two, I want Myron to understand Islam properly. I know that once he understands Islam properly, he will be in a better place, he will be happier, and he will feel, inshallah, the sweetness of Iman. Islam is truly a beautiful religion, but until you understand it properly, you wouldn't know that. Clearly, whatever Myron's saying here is out of ignorance, and this is not an expose or a hit piece or anything. I really just want him to understand Islam. But before we get started with that, as always, I'm wearing my Israeli occupied territory hoodie, and you can see that this is the White House. Because this is not just a hoodie, it's a statement acknowledging the fact that Zionism is still plaguing America, using AIPAC's lobbying to buy politicians to pass pro-Israel bills and send more money and weapons there so they can continue to murder Palestinians. So if you guys want to rep this amazing hoodie, then you can grab it using the link down below. And if you want 10% off, then you can get that using code Rami10. Desert Apparels, who created this hoodie, also supports this channel. So by getting a hoodie, you would also be supporting me in the work that I do here. But without further ado, let's just jump into the topic of today. I actually think the best way to discuss this is just to play some of the clips of Myron speaking about it and then kind of come back and discuss why it's wrong.
Okay, Myron, but Islam is off limits. No, you, beast mode. Islam is on limits. And this coming from a guy that's Muslim. If someone wants to criticize the Prophet, if someone wants to criticize the religion, if someone wants to criticize whatever, fine. This is the United States of America. The First Amendment is real, and I believe in it. See, and that's why people make fun of Muslims, because guys like you are soft crybabies. If you don't like it, then go back to the Middle East where they don't have free speech if you don't like it. But this is the United States of America. So look, if you don't like free speech, then leave. Go back, go to a Sharia law country where they don't have free speech. Dude says, so what you're saying is that people can say bad things about prophets. Yes, people can say bad things about prophets. Because this isn't a Muslim country, bro. This isn't a Muslim country. Respect the law of the land. If you want where they enforce laws on people that speak badly about the prophets, then go to a Middle Eastern country. Nothing's stopping you. Get on a plane. You're probably an American or a British person. Get on a plane and go there. Let me go in on some of you you Muslim guys that want to come in here and try to impose your will. Let me tell you something. I'm not going to go to Saudi Arabia or to the UAE, right? Or to Sudan or to Morocco or to any of these countries and tell them, y'all need to speak English. I'm going to say what I want to say about your government. I'm going to dress like a Westerner. I'm going to have my girl with her hair all out. I'm going to push Western ideals in your society. They have absolutely every right to kick my put me in jail, whatever the they want to do. Why? Because it's their country, their laws. They don't come here to America and then say, well, you can't criticize the prophet. And this is coming from a guy that grew up in a Muslim household. This is America. They're going to say and do what they want to do. And if you don't like it, go back over there. You can't come to someone else's country and try to impose your way of life on them. All right? People want to get mad and complain and call me an for saying this. Look, this country is founded upon by white Christian men. Facts.
So there's a lot to unpack there, and I know probably a lot of you are angry after watching that clip, but I encourage you all just to take a breath and relax, because we're going to go through each point, inshallah. The first thing he says is Islam is on limits, meaning people can make fun of it. And he's like, this is coming from a Muslim, being that he's a Muslim himself, and it's okay to make fun of Islam. Tokenizing this idea that you are a Muslim doesn't give you the right to now say anything goes. But let's get to the real issue. Islam, being a Muslim, means that you submit your will to God. Not that you submit your will to white Christian people who wrote the First Amendment. And that's what you're doing here, Myron. You're effectively saying, God or white Christian men who wrote the First Amendment, I'm taking this. Why? Because you're born in America. This is nationalistic garbage. This is nationalistic. This is a nationalism disease, really. And the fact that it's plagued your heart so much to the point where you're willing to basically drop the rules of Islam as a Muslim to uphold a white person's belief, it's very sad. Now, Myron, you need to ask yourself, if God himself and the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, if they told us, if they came to you and told you directly that it is haram to criticize Islam, to make fun of the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, if God himself told you that, would you still say no, the First Amendment? Or would you go to God and say, okay, I hear, I obey, no problem. Because this is the question of whether you're a Muslim or not. If you would go to God and say no First Amendment, you're not a Muslim. You're not. And I don't mean to be like haram, please, or you're a kafir, you're what. No, in Islam, if any person disagrees with God, the Creator, they're not a Muslim, because a Muslim is the one who submits their will to God. If anything, what you're doing is taking the white Christian people who wrote the First Amendment as your God, because obedience and submission to an ultimate authority is one of the definitions of worship in Islam. If you don't give that obedience and that submission to God first and foremost, and you give it to something else, then you're worshiping that other thing. I don't know why it seems like you need to appease white people, like, or appease Americans, or like, I don't know why. I don't know if this is like an insecurity that you have as a Muslim living in America, but like, you need to drop that. It's a really just mental enslavement. And Islam came to free people from nationalism and ignorance and mental enslavement to wrong ideologies and to other groups of people. God literally sent Islam, the same message of worshiping one God alone, to Moses, peace and blessing be upon him, to literally stop the children of Israel from being enslaved by Pharaoh. And we're sitting here being like, oh, the First Amendment, yeah, let's be slaves to these white Christians. It's really not helping your case or the Muslim's case at all. And I don't know if you think it's like doing something for you, it's not helping you either, because these are the same white people that would drop you on the flip of a dime. I'm your Muslim brother, I love and care about you. They don't give a damn about you. I don't know you personally, but because you're a Muslim, I love and care about you. They don't care about you. They don't give a damn about you. You could drop dead in the street the next day and they're not coming to your janazah, they're not coming to your funeral, and you need to wake up to that fact. Next, Myron mentions you need to obey the law of the land that you live in. This is actually something Islam tells us to do, obey the law of the land that you live in. But we're not breaking any law by coming here and saying, hey, don't lie about my prophet, don't lie about my religion. We're not breaking any laws. They have freedom of speech to say whatever trash, garbage lie they want to say. I have freedom of speech to tell them to shut the hell up. And it doesn't make me whiny or complacent or whatever. We've been debating people for centuries. We've been debating Christians and atheists and now secular liberalists for a very long time. We don't have a problem with public discourse. What we have a problem with is people talking ish for no reason about our prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, and our religion. Lying about our God, lying about our religion, lying about our prophet. No, I'm not going to tolerate that. And if you stand for everything and anything being said, then you have no principle. You don't really stand for anything. And this leads me to my next point, which is freedom of speech does not exist. It's not real. In every country, you have acceptable speech and unacceptable speech. That is it. In Saudi Arabia, in other Muslim majority countries, you cannot lie about Islam or God or the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him. And in America, there are certain things that if you say, you will lose your job, you'll be charged with a hate crime, maybe even thrown in prison. Because although America has a higher threshold for what is allowed to be said, meaning that like they'll allow for more hateful things to be said, they do draw the line at some point. The government literally introduced a new bill trying to take people's passports away if they criticize Israel, because there's no real true freedom of expression or freedom of speech in America. And lastly, he mentioned don't force your way of life onto other people. I'm not going to go to Saudi Arabia and enforce my way of living onto them, and you're not going to do the same thing. Firstly, no one's doing that. No one's forcing anyone to do anything. We're just saying, stop lying about the Prophet, stop lying about Islam. And in America, Americans have the right to dislike other people's utilization of free speech. You don't have to like it. Right? If someone comes to you and says, Myron, you're ugly, I hate you, go die, do you have to be like, yeah, freedom of speech? No, you could tell them to go to hell and that you don't like them and you don't like what they said. That's fine. There's nothing illegal about that. But secondly, this idea that, oh, we don't go to other people's countries and force our way on them. What are you talking about? America's literally started wars in the name of spreading liberal democracy. Why did they bomb the life out of Iraq, Syria? Why do they try and colonize Afghanistan? It was always in the name of preserving their freedom and spreading liberal democracy and freedoms and whatever to other people. So no, Muslims don't come to these lands and force our way on them, but they come to our lands, bomb us, and force their way onto us.
Look, man, I've been in different circles. I talk to people from different places. I tell you guys all the time, when people talk shit about blacks, I tell y'all what people say about blacks behind their back. With Muslims, we gotta have a real discussion here. People get really annoyed when you try to shove your way of life and your religion down their throat. Nobody gives a that you pray 5 times a day. Nobody cares that you're religious. Nobody cares that you cover yourself up. Nobody cares about none of that shit. Where people start to get annoyed is when you try to put your way of life out there outwardly where people have to accept what you do. This is why so many people have a negative connotation of Islam, because you guys want to come in, you want to shove it down their throat, you want to force to do the shahada, you want to force to pray. Bro, nobody wants to hear that shit. People want to be able to practice their religion without you judging them, without you giving them a headache, without them having to hear the adhan. They don't want to hear it, bro. This ain't your country. Sorry. Go to a Muslim country if you want that shit. There's plenty of them. There's like 50.
I truly don't know where on earth Myron is getting this from. Like, I have literally, like, I don't know if he's conjuring this up in his head or if he's just listening to some moron speak about Islam and what they think the reality is. There's no one, like practically no Muslim in America that's going around and shoving the fact that they pray 5 times a day down people's throat. Which Muslim who wears a hijab is going to other people and shoving the fact that she wears hijab down their throat? What on earth are you talking about? Who's forcing people to take the Shahada? You're speaking like a white atheist or white Christian Islam hater who's like, Islam was spread by the sword, forcing people to convert. That's exactly how you sound, except no one's doing that. And it's almost funny that you say that people say this in circles behind our backs. They say it out loud. We hear this garbage every day. This is why we're complaining, hey, stop lying about us, our religion, our prophet, because they say it out loud in public every day. This is not some like big secret that only Myron knows about because he was invited to their white club or something like that. No, everyone knows about this. Another point I forgot to mention when recording this video is the idea of the adhan being played out loud. There is one city where they have a good amount of Muslims there, so they play the adhan out loud 5 times a day. And Myron's acting like this is some like American blasphemy. America is a secular country, meaning that no religion can govern the laws, but the people have the freedom to practice religion. So people have the freedom, potentially, to play the adhan out loud 5 times a day. It's not against American laws. If it was, then they wouldn't be allowed to do it. This was approved by the city, and that's why they're doing it. And you know what, Myron? If the non-Muslims that live there don't like it, they can move out. They don't like Muslims. They don't like Islam because Zionism pushes this idea that Islam is terrible because they tie it to 9/11 and all these terrorist attacks and whatever, when really we know it's just Zionist media pushing this idea because we want to desensitize Americans to Muslims. So when Israel kills more Muslims in Palestine and then takes their land, it's like, well, they're a Muslim anyways, who cares? This is the exact agenda. It's funny. This is the exact agenda that Myron has been trying to fight for the last year or two when pushing back against Zionism and pushing back against Israel. Except this one point he's playing into, which is this anti-Islam rhetoric.
Here's a red pill for you guys that you guys really got to understand. Okay, and Muslims are going to get mad at me for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Islam does not teach you to critically think. I'm sorry. Okay? They teach you the Quran. You're supposed to memorize surahs. It's a very let's memorize approach. Okay? Rehearse, memorize, have the Quran memorized, etc. Cool, whatever. Right? It doesn't really push you to critically think.
Now, this point is interesting. I don't know why Myron thinks Islam doesn't teach us to critically think. This, again, just shows me that he's very ignorant of Islam. I don't know if he's read the Quran or not, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. It is true that Islam gives us a system, a way of life, a system of governance, a system of living, a routine, tasks like memorizing the Quran and surahs, praying 5 times a day, and so on and so forth. But all over the Quran, Allah instructs you and me to look at the world, how God created it, meaning how it functions, and to ponder, to think, to reflect. And as simple as it may sound, verses like when Allah tells us to look at the camel and how Allah created it, all its functions, the purpose that it serves for humans, and how Allah designed and created it, verses like that led Muslim philosophers and scientists to study the world and advance the different fields. Do you think it's just a weird coincidence that we had the golden age of Islam, where Muslims were thriving in philosophy and astronomy and mathematics and science? They invented algebra, they invented optics, they advanced so many different fields, and this like lasted multiple centuries. We advanced ourselves so far to the point that when the Europeans got their hands on our books, translated it, they finally enlightened themselves. You're gonna say the religion of all these people that did all of this doesn't teach them to critically think? This is whitewashing. Myron, you have been whitewashed. Your history as a Muslim has been whitewashed. And I'm not blaming you for this, but it's incumbent upon you to go study the history. Go read about Islam. Go read the Quran. Learn about what the scholars say about Islam and if you should critically think and all that. Look at all the debates we had throughout history and learn what it truly means to be a Muslim. And this is also evidence that you cannot self-study something like Islam because you already have such an incorrect framework, a Western libertarian framework that when you try and read Islam, you're going to misunderstand everything. You need to learn Islam from an Islamic framework. And only then will you understand Islam. And when you say, I'm a Muslim, at that point, it'll mean something completely different than what it means for you now when you say, I'm a Muslim. There were many other points that he made, but I mean, I can't really make this video too long, so I'm going to leave it there, inshallah. I hope that this was beneficial. May Allah make me, Myron, and all the Muslims, good believers, people who understand Islam, people who can spread the truth of Islam to others. And may Allah forgive us for our wrong and accept any good that we may do. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.